It was a cool autumn evening, and Jake stood outside the grand doors of the city's largest theater, feeling the crisp air bite at his skin. The ornate lights above the marquee flickered, casting a warm, inviting glow against the darkening sky. It had been months since he signed up for the drama club at the local community center, a hobby he initially picked up to help with his confidence. Little did anyone know, there was more to his interest in acting than just standing on stage. He had always felt something was off, like he was playing a role in his own life. His secret? He had long been fascinated by the idea of crossdressing, but he never dared tell anyone. What would his friends think? His family? In the privacy of his bedroom, he had experimented with wearing women's clothes, feeling more like himself in those moments than he ever did wearing his typical jeans and t-shirts. But this was something he kept hidden from everyone, afraid of what the world might say. Tonight, however, something was different. The drama club was rehearsing for an upcoming performance of Romeo and Juliet, and as fate would have it, he had been assigned to help with the wardrobe team. His heart pounded with excitement and fear at the thought of being so close to the beautiful costumes, especially the ones designed for the female characters. Jake walked into the theater and was greeted by the scent of sawdust and freshly painted backdrops. The cast members were scattered across the stage, practicing their lines, their voices echoing throughout the empty seats. He quickly made his way backstage to where the wardrobe department was located, tucked away in a quiet corner. There, the racks were filled with flowing dresses, elegant gowns, and sparkling accessories, each costume more stunning than the last. "Hey, Jake." His friend Sarah called from across the room, her curly hair bouncing as she hurried over. She was one of the lead actresses, playing Juliet. "I didn't expect to see you back here tonight. I thought you were helping with the lights?" "I was," Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "But they needed some extra hands in wardrobe, so I figured I'd pitch in." Sarah smiled warmly. "Well, you're in for a treat. The costumes this year are amazing. I swear, I feel like a princess every time I put on my dress." Jake's eyes wandered to a stunning, floor-length gown that hung on one of the racks, its bodice decorated with intricate embroidery and its skirt made of layers of soft fabric. For a moment, he imagined what it would feel like to wear something like that, to feel the delicate fabric against his skin, to twirl around and watch the skirt fan out around him. But he quickly shook the thought away. That was just a fantasy, and he was here to help, not indulge in daydreams. The hours passed as Jake helped organize the costumes, his heart racing each time he handled the women's clothing. The feel of the dresses between his fingers stirred something deep inside him, something he tried to ignore but couldn't completely suppress. Eventually, most of the cast and crew left for the night, leaving Jake alone in the wardrobe room, surrounded by the remnants of another day's rehearsal. As he sorted through the last few costumes, his eyes kept returning to that same gown, the one Sarah had worn earlier. It was breathtaking, like something out of a fairy tale. His mind raced, battling between caution and curiosity. He knew it was wrong, that he should lock up and leave like everyone else. But the temptation was too great, the pull of that gown too strong to resist. Before he knew what he was doing, Jake glanced around to make sure no one was watching, and then, with trembling hands, he unhooked the dress from the rack. He held it in front of him, marveling at the craftsmanship. The soft fabric shimmered in the dim light, and the weight of it felt substantial in his hands. "I shouldn't," he whispered to himself, but even as he said the words, he knew he was going to do it. He slipped off his clothes, his heart pounding in his chest, and carefully stepped into the dress. It fit him almost perfectly, hugging his frame in all the right places. He pulled up the zipper at the back, feeling the fabric wrap around him like a second skin. For the first time in his life, he felt truly right. It wasn't just the physical sensation of the dress, it was something deeper, a sense of comfort and identity he had never experienced before. Jake walked over to the full-length mirror on the other side of the room, his bare feet brushing against the cold floor. When he saw his reflection, he gasped. There, in the mirror, was not the Jake he knew, but someone else entirely, a beautiful woman, elegant and poised. His shoulders relaxed, and a soft smile spread across his face as he twirled, watching the gown swirl around him. For a brief moment, he was lost in the fantasy, imagining himself as Juliet, standing on stage in front of a captivated audience. He closed his eyes and let the feeling wash over him, reveling in the freedom that came with embracing this part of himself, even if only for a few stolen minutes. But then, a loud click echoed through the room. Jake's eyes snapped open and he froze. The door to the wardrobe room had just locked. He quickly glanced at the clock on the wall, 11:30 p.m. He had completely lost track of time. The janitor must have come by and locked the door, thinking everyone had left for the night. Panic surged through Jake's veins as he rushed over to the door, still dressed in the gown. He jiggled the handle, but it didn't budge. He was locked in, alone, in a dress. "What am I going to do?" he whispered, his voice trembling. He paced the room, his mind racing. There was no way he could call for help, not like this. How could he explain why he was wearing one of the lead actress's costumes? What would people think? He'd be the laughingstock of the entire drama club. And worse, his secret would be out. Jake sank to the floor, the gown pooling around him like a sea of fabric. His hands trembled as he ran his fingers through his hair. He couldn't believe what had happened. This was supposed to be a harmless moment of exploration, and now he was trapped, with no way out. Minutes turned into hours as he sat there, staring at the door, praying that someone would come back and unlock it. But as the theater grew colder and quieter, Jake realized that no one was coming. He was going to be stuck here all night. He stood up and walked over to the mirror again, his reflection now a source of both comfort and fear. The woman he saw in the mirror felt so familiar, like she had always been there, just waiting for her moment to emerge. But the fear of being discovered overshadowed that feeling, leaving him torn between desire and dread. As the hours dragged on, Jake began to reflect on his life, on the years he had spent hiding this part of himself, suppressing his feelings out of fear of judgment. Was this who he really was? Was this why he had always felt like something was missing? He thought back to the first time he had tried on women's clothes in secret, how exhilarating it had been, and how terrified he had felt afterward. He had convinced himself that it was just a phase, something he could push aside and forget about. But the more he tried to ignore it, the stronger the urge became. Now, here he was, locked in a wardrobe room, dressed in a gown that felt more like him than anything else he had ever worn. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had spent his whole life feeling trapped in the wrong skin, and now he was physically trapped, forced to confront the truth he had been avoiding for so long. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the small window in the room, Jake made a decision. He couldn't keep living like this, hiding who he truly was out of fear. He wasn't sure what the future held or how people would react, but he knew one thing. He couldn't keep pretending to be someone he wasn't. With a deep breath, Jake walked over to the door, still dressed in the gown, and knocked softly. Maybe the janitor would hear him. Maybe he would have to face the consequences of his actions. But whatever happened, he was done running from himself. To his surprise, after a few minutes, there was a sound from the other side of the door. The lock clicked, and the door creaked open, revealing Sarah standing there, her eyes wide with shock. "Jake?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. What are you doing?" Jake swallowed hard, his heart racing. I can explain," he stammered, but the words wouldn't come. How could he possibly explain everything that had led to this moment? But then something unexpected happened. Instead of laughing or questioning him, Sarah stepped into the room and closed the door behind her. She looked at him for a long moment, her expression softening. "You look beautiful," she said quietly, a small smile playing on her lips. Jake blinked, stunned by her response. "You're not mad." Sarah shook her head. "Why would I be mad? I've seen the way you've looked at these costumes. I had a feeling something was going on. I just didn't know how to bring it up." Jake's eyes filled with tears as the weight of his secret finally lifted. "I've been hiding this for so long," he admitted, his voice shaking. "I didn't know how to tell anyone. I didn't even know how to admit it to myself." Sarah took a step closer, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to hide anymore," she said softly. "It's okay to be yourself, Jake. Or maybe that's not even your name anymore." Jake felt a wave of emotion wash over him as he realized what she was saying. He had never thought about choosing a new name, but now that the idea was in front of him, it felt right. I don't know," he said, wiping his eyes. "I guess I never thought about that." Sarah smiled warmly. "There's time to figure it out. But for now, let's get you out of here before the rest of the crew shows up." Jake nodded, grateful beyond words for Sarah's kindness. As she helped him change back into his regular clothes, he felt a sense of peace settle over him. This wasn't the end of his journey. It was only the beginning. As they left the theater together, Jake couldn't help but smile. For the first time in his life, he felt free. And maybe, just maybe, he was ready to embrace the woman inside. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.